We've been studying Izzy and Slash's guitar playing on Appetite for Destruction for almost 4 decades now. But what keeps us coming back for more? Let's talk about that. Hey kids, it's your good buddy, Uncle Ben. Over my many years as a guitar teacher and touring musician, I've learned thousands of songs, and they've all taught me something that stuck with me and helped me along the way. Mastering tunes makes us better players, and that's why every guitarist should learn Mr. Brownstone by Guns N' Roses. Hey there kids, it's your good buddy, Uncle Ben. Guns N' Roses is one of the biggest bands to come out of the 80s, and that's thanks to the amazing guitar work of Izzy Stradlin and Slash, who really have a lot more in common with classic 70s rock duos like Brad Whitford and Joe Perry from Aerosmith, or even Ron Wood and Keith Richards from the Rolling Stones, than they do of their 80s contemporaries. Izzy and Slash kept it really, really loose and rarely played the exact same thing as each other. And this song is a perfect example of the way that we can learn from that 2-guitar interplay. You're going to get even more out of this video if you check out the extended and ad-free cut that's only available on my Patreon page at patreon.com/Ben Eller Guitars. Is it a cult? You're going to have to find out. Even for as little as $1 a month, that's going to get you access to that Bad Larry, as well as hundreds of other exclusive bonus goodies. So don't delay, sign up today over at patreon.com/Ben Eller Guitars. I'll see you there. Slash and Izzy have vastly different approaches to their guitar playing and their gear, which is why for today's video I'm going to be using a couple of different axes here for both guitar parts. It only makes sense that I use my Gibson / Victoria Gold Top here with the bare knuckle Black Dog pickups in it to play Slash's parts. And for Izzy's brighter, tighter tones, I'm going to be busting out this new slice of fried gold right here. This is my Fender American Ultra 2 75th Anniversary Edition Telecaster. I just got this thing recently and I am in love. Holy cow, this thing is awesome. And of course, when you think about Guns N' Roses, you also think about the legendary tone of Marshall amplification, which is why today I'm going to be plugging into the brand new Synergy Marshall JCM800 module. This is an all-tube 2-channel module that I've got running in my Syn 5050 head, and it totally captures the sound of the legendary JCM800. It's got that classic raw British crunch sound, which is just perfect for these tunes. I'm not even using any pedals or anything in front of it today. You guys know what time it is. Let's get into it. For today's video, all the guitars are going to be tuned down 1/2 step to E flat, as Guns N' Roses typically did. The song kicks off with the guitars doing that muted string thing over that I Want Candy drum beat, and it can show us a lot about how to use effects to make something a little bit more textural and interesting. course, we got Slash there with the Crybaby engaged doing his muted thing on the right channel. And I'm sure there's a GNR historian watching this that can correct me in the comments section, but it sounds to me like Izzy is doing the same muted string thing but without the wah pedal, instead using a little bit of a light flanger on the tone. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but it's cool to hear how the two different effects combine to give us this really cool textural sound over something that could have just sounded really dry over that drum beat. After that, we got Izzy coming in with the main riff of the tune that uses a harmonic trick that blues and rock guys have been using since Jesus was riding dinosaurs. It's the ascending minor to major third. Did you see that move? That's something I like to call the ascending third. And this is something that we've been using since the earliest days of blues and guitar-based music. So the song is in E, right? That's our tonal center. And there's two types of thirds that we use in Western music. There's the regular one, do, re, mi, the third note of the major scale. In other words, the note 2 whole steps above the root. That's a regular third. But then there's its cooler cousin, the flattened third, which is just one note lower. It's really common in blues and rock music to mix those two thirds together in the harmonic language, but only in one particular way, ascending. It's never a descending third. That doesn't sound bluesy, right? It sounds kind of weird. But whenever you start off on that lower minor third and take it up to the regular third, it just sounds right. It sounds like blues. It sounds like rock and roll. And as we go through the song, you're going to see him doing it all over the place. But this is where you hear it first. Now, while Izzy's playing that riff, Slash is just outlining some big chords with the wah pedal behind him, like this. He's got the E chord and he's got the D chord, and you can hear how he slowly rolls the wah in for more texture, and then also does some of those quick, more aggressive, kind of like classic psychedelic moves in there. Just gives you something fun to listen to on the other side of the mix. Up next, we got the verse of the song, which is a perfect example of the way that Slash and Izzy would take a basic chord progression and interpret it completely differently from each other. The progression that they're outlining is really simple. It's just E to A, then A to E. And it could have been that boring in the hands of less capable guitar players, but thankfully that is not the result that we got. The way that Izzy interprets that progression is to play it with a mix of single notes and chords. We can see how he's targeting the root note of each of those chords. So he's got the E right here. Same root targeting thing on the A. And then the ascending third to get us back to E. Meanwhile, Slash is back on the wah pedal, just rocking that thing with the quarter notes and playing a way different phrase. So he's doing a lot of the same stuff there at first, right? He's targeting that root for E, taking us up to A right there. And then for this part over A, he doesn't play A at all. He plays these notes. What the heck, right? So over A, this note right here, the G, is sounding as a flat 7. Whenever we have the sound of A with the flat 7 added in, that G note, it gives us that funky, bluesy A7 kind of tonality. This is further reinforced when he plays that little dyad right there. This is the flat 7 and third of A, which again gives us that A7 kind of sound. It's really interesting to notice right here that while Izzy is playing A, Slash is playing G. They're playing notes a whole step away from each other. But it never really sounds dissonant. It doesn't ever sound like they're like stepping on each other's toes. You got Duff on bass right there playing that low A right there in the middle, which also helps too. But this is just a cool way to see how two different guitar players can play stuff that is kind of rubbing on each other, but at the same time, it's really just extending the harmony, and it sounds great in context. So after all that slightly controlled chaos that we've had in the other parts, the guitars get a little bit more focused here in the chorus. Okay, the first thing that you'll notice here is
a key change!
That's right, it's a key change. Guns N' Roses has crazy key changes all over their music. I think it's easy to oversimplify it as like, yeah, whatever, Les Paul, Marshall, rock and roll kind of stuff. But there's a lot of weird key changes in their songs. So we've been in E for everything so far. The chorus here goes to like a G progression. It kind of feels like a G blues. And even in sections like this, where it seems like Slash and Izzy are playing the same thing, they're still kind of interpreting it differently. Slash is playing some big power chords like this. While over on Izzy's side of the mix, he's kind of simplifying that by playing a lot of double stops. Do you see that little one finger bar move I'm doing? This is like an upside down power chord. I also think of it as being like a decapitated power chord, because it's like I took this big F power chord right here and gave it the Marie Antoinette treatment and went off with its head, leaving only the high notes of the chord. This is a really efficient way to go from a chord in a position to the chord a whole step below it without having too much wiggling around. Now that I listen to it, I'm actually not even sure that Izzy is playing the roots at all. It might just be double stops. Which leaves plenty of room in the mix for the bass to handle the big root notes. That way the guitars can just sound nice and clear. After that, they're back to kind of disagreeing about what to play. We have this chromatic walk up to E at the end of the chorus, and they both play that in different octaves. So we start off on D, and then Izzy takes the chromatic high road by walking up like this. And Slash takes the low road by taking that chromatic walk and taking it down an octave. And after that, it seems like they just had like a 2-second discussion as a band, and they were just like, okay, now it's recess on an E chord for a few bars. Just kind of do whatever you want to. And the guitars play way different stuff right here. Slash is back on the wah pedal again. It's almost like Slash was channeling like 70s cop show soundtrack over that, while Izzy does something completely different. Now, they sync back up for that walk at the end of the riff. That ends on G sharp to A, which is something that we've not seen yet in the song. To E, that would be like the third and the fourth. Now, that seems a little bit odd out of context, but that leads us really nicely to B for the next part of the song, which features
Another key change!
That's right, class, another key change. And this is for the bridge of the song. I kind of hesitate to give these parts names exactly because this song is structured really unusually, which is kind of typical for Guns N' Roses in this era. They didn't write a lot of songs that just went verse, chorus, bridge, chorus. That wasn't really their style. So far in this song, we've had the intro, we've had the main riff, a verse, back to that main riff, another verse, our chorus. Now we're on to this bridge, which is going to be followed by another chorus, then a solo. These are song structures that don't work according to guys in suits running record labels. But I think the 80 bajillion copies of Appetite for Destruction that have sold would like a word, because these songs are put together really unusually, and nobody seems to care. You can still party to them, you can still smash beer to them, and they're still super memorable. So the bridge part of the song here is built around another simple chord progression. It's just B to A. But check out the way that Izzy and Slash both look at that simple blueprint and interpret it in completely different ways. You'll notice that Izzy is sneaking an extra chord into there. For every B, he also goes a fourth above it and plays an E power chord. And then for the A, he sneaks in a D power chord. Meanwhile, the way that Slash is playing it is to stay a little bit more in motion and do some muted strumming, and he's got like this little lick at the end of every chord. Check this out. Okay, so what is that lick, right? For B, he's playing D to D sharp. That is once again that ascending third thing we talked about earlier. Just part of that blues rock vocabulary. Same thing happens with the A. That C to C sharp. I know you've heard that in other songs too, and once again that is the ascending third. It's never a descending third, it's always rising, just the way your mother likes it. After another chorus, we get to Slash's guitar solo, which features
A key change.
another key change. We've been in E, we've been up a minor third to G, which I guess you could say is its relative major. We had that bridge part, which is in B to A, so it only makes sense that for the solo we go to F sharp for some reason. Now, according to your circle of fifths and all that, these changes don't make any sense. And that is true. But stuff doesn't have to make sense to be cool. People overthink key changes in their songs all the time. They think it's going to be jarring. They think it'll confuse the listener or disrupt the flow of the song or whatever. So you have to move in the Berkeley prescribed ways of only moving in a fifth. That way it's not too jarring or whatever. In reality, you can just change keys any the time that you want to, and it might sound cool. Just try it. This move to F sharp doesn't make any sense whatsoever, but it also doesn't sound weird, does it? But even though the harmonic language changes, there is kind of a songwriting trick that they use to make it less jarring. The riff behind the solo is really cool and features this trick. Check this out. The progression goes from F sharp to E, and check out the way that Izzy plays it. Even though we're in a new key now, and this is a new part of the song, he's playing this riff the exact same way that he played the bridge. He repackaged something new into something old, something that you've already heard in the song. That way he doesn't introduce a new character in the third act. But there's still like this custody battle about how to play that riff going on when you check out Slash's part that's over the top of that. Not the solo, his rhythm guitar part. Sounds like this. Root, flat 7, and then this dyad. This kind of sounds like B to F sharp major. That same little dyad over the E kind of makes it sound like it's going from A to E. Again, kind of mirroring what Izzy was doing, right? B, F sharp, A, E. And of course, over that, we've got Slash's wah-drenched, ass-kicking solo. Check this out. Over the F sharp part of the solo, Slash is using a rock staple, the Dorian Blues hybrid scale. I've never really heard like an official name for this, but you can kind of look at this as being a scale in several different evolutions. Start off with your good old-fashioned F sharp minor pentatonic scale. Now if we add in the flat 5, we get the blues scale, right? But then you can also start adding in some of the notes from the Dorian scale, or as I like to call it, the Santana minor, specifically the second and the sixth. The second is going to be the note a whole step above the root. And the sixth is going to add this really cool, funky, bluesy flavor into it. I hear a lot of people call that the Jimmy Page scale. You could also just call it the classic rock scale because it's all over stuff from the 70s and 80s. Little double stopping never hurt anybody. And you can see right there he's using that sixth. We can learn a lot from the way that Slash keeps that groove and that swing in the phrasing during his soloing. It's almost like a riff of a lick, you know what I'm saying? Really cool phrasing in there. If you want to get this thing down note by note, I recommend checking out a video here on YouTube that I think is pretty darn good as a transcription. It's by Steph Legrateau. I don't exactly know how to say your name. I'm so sorry, dude, but there's the @ right there. Check out his video on his channel. He's got a great playthrough with tabs and stuff on screen, and I think he's pretty doggone accurate if you want to master this thing note for note. I didn't obsess about getting every lick in here exactly right. I'll tell you why here in just a second, but his transcription is really good. The only things that I will say that I think are different, it sounds to me like he does start off with unison bends. There's just nothing like the sound of those screechy unisons like that. I don't think he's just doing single note bends like that. He's doing the unisons. And I see some people do like a low thing with a harmonic on it like that rather than going straight to the high bend after that fast phrase. It's definitely the high note like that. You can see him doing it that way live. And there's something about the way that high string kind of gives out on that first bend that sounds so cool. And you can't get that out of doing like a low harmonic or something. So after that high bend, he plays a really crazy fast phrase. Something like this. That is not exact whatsoever. I don't know that that's exactly a written out lick that Slash plays the same way every time. I've noticed live it kind of just seems like he hogs it right there in F sharp and lands on, you know, the iconic melody part after that. This kind of goes back to something that is sort of a philosophy in the 80s hair metal tribute band that I play in, Skank Banger. Myself and Andy Wood, aka Ashley Licks, play guitar in that band with a philosophy like this when it comes to playing solos note for note. If you can sing it, you should play it. So in other words, some of those parts that are at the top of the solo, you can sing that. So you should play it that way like the record. When it gets to really wah-drenched, fast stuff like this phrase, I don't know about you, but I can't freaking sing that. So you don't really have to worry about playing that stuff note by note. Slash doesn't. Why should we, right? Now, the first part, I want to hear that. I can sing that. Da 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 da. And then after that, anything goes until you land on the next singable part. So honestly, I wouldn't sweat nailing this stuff exactly note for note unless you're just like a curator of the Guns N' Roses catalog. So keep that philosophy in mind. If you can sing it, you should play it. Now after that section in the solo, guess what we have? Another f***ing key change, because it goes back to the chorus changes, the G, C, D part. And the way that Slash plays over that is to simply follow the changes, kind of outlining some of that bluesy Dorian hybrid scale thing, as well as integrating the ascending third thing that we've been talking about this whole video. Did you see that move? There's that ascending third thing that makes it sound kind of bluesy and major. Takes it up to C and plays a similar idea. It's kind of a variation on what he already put out there. But it starts off the same way, and it ends the same way, which makes it seem like more of a part and less of like licks. You know what I'm saying? And then over the D section, he plays something pretty different. Same basic harmonic language, just moving up now to the D tonal center. And then for the walk down part that happens at the end of the solo, this is a cool idea here. Like, rather than trying to think of, man, what scale should I play over that? What key are we in now? Whatever. If you're ever in question about that stuff, just play what the rhythm guitar is playing. Maybe with some cool unison bends like Slash does. Because the rhythm guitar is going D, C sharp, B, D, G, right? He does the exact same thing, just with unison bends up top. It's the exact same thing, just up high. If in doubt, just follow the rhythm guitar. It's always going to sound really locked in. Simple solo that doesn't overstay its welcome. It's got just the right amount of shred in there and a lot of singable melodies. And Slash was writing like this when he was like a freaking kid. Like when I was Slash's age, I was still so musically immature that I was just thinking about like, how many notes can I cram into every solo? How can I prove to the world that I can play guitar? Meanwhile, Slash was doing stuff at the same age that was infinitely more tasteful than probably anything I'll ever do. The only other new part of the song after that is the outro, which is kind of like a remixed version of the main riff. It's like you took the two halves of that riff and divided them up and put each section on repeat. Meanwhile, Slash is playing that same repeating figure an octave up. Just kind of adds a little bit of harmonic depth to that section. Then he goes back to unison here for the descending lick. You gotta love him hitting us with a little bit of the classic, and that is all, there at the end of the tune. I try to sneak that into the endings of like as many songs as humanly possible whenever we play out live with Skankbanger. Super fun way to end another kick-ass Guns N' Roses song. So there you go, guys, a little bit of insight into another solid gold GNR classic. So much awesome stuff that we can learn from that in terms of writing two different guitar parts that don't really have anything to do with each other and not being afraid of them clashing with each other. It just adds personality, it just adds character to have more cooks in the kitchen in situations like this. Be sure to get even more out of this video by checking out the extended ad-free cut that's only available on my Patreon page, patreon.com/Ben Eller Guitars. Sign up even for just $1 a month. You're gonna get access to that as well as like 800 other exclusive posts with all kinds of goodies on them. So don't delay, sign up today and I'll see you guys over there. Also, if you like this format of video, be sure to check out the one that I did a few months back about why everybody should learn Night Train by Guns N' Roses. That was a really fun one to pick apart. There's a lot of that. Two guitars doing totally different stuff from each other in that one. So be sure to scope that video out as well. Give this one a like and subscribe to the channel. Ring the bell for notifications every time I upload a new slice of fried gold. And as you go through your week, keep a good thought and be good to each other out there. It's really easy to turn on the news or open up your phone and just be bombarded with all the worst stuff happening in the world right now, and there is plenty. But I don't think that it's too late to make a change for the better. So as you go through your week, keep that in mind and let's just be good to each other. The change starts with us. Now grab that rock guitar and start mashing some rope. Less clicking, more picking.